Hey, welcome to Gun Stuff. Today we get a chance to come out to the range and shoot some Hyperfire products. Now they sent us an entire lineup. What we're installing these products on is going to be our Windham Weaponry 9mm carbine. We did a video on this just last week, and then we installed a couple of upgrades on here. So what we installed is the Hyperfire Hyper Grip. What this is a bigger grip, and it adds a lot of basically girth to this grip here. And what it does is it makes this a little bit bigger, easier to hold on to, but then it also shifts your grip down so that you have you put your trigger finger more in line with where the trigger is, instead of it being way up high in the tang here and then having to reach your finger down to shoot. This aligns it a little bit better and puts it into proper alignment, so when your wrist is straight, your finger is right where it needs to be. And it works really good with this lower, because you got a little finger groove here for you to rest your finger on, and that's on both sides of this gun. Works really good. One of the things also that they did on here is they left a lot of extra material. You can see this checkering or this design pattern that's in here. You know, it's a lot of it. It goes really deep down into the grip. So what that's for is for you to be able to take any type of file, sandpaper, Dremel tool or anything like that, and be able to contour anything on here that you want to do. So if after a day of shooting you find it's a little thick right here and you want to bring the bottom of your palm in a little bit, you just take sandpaper to it or something like that, and you fit this grip to yourself. So with all this extra material in here, allows you to do that while putting everything in proper alignment. Another thing we installed on here is the Hyper Switch. So the Hyper Switch is a 60-degree safety lever. So instead of this going all the way to a full 45 degrees when you flip the safety on, it doesn't go all the way up, it just goes to part way through there. So that way when you go to flip this back, it's easier for you to engage and disengage just by pulling it straight to the rear when you come back. It has really strong D10 on here, so it's really solid audible click when this thing goes into fire, and then when you bring it back to safe, same thing. Okay, so real nice audible click, and also it's ambidextrous, so it has the safety lever on both sides of the gun for whether you're right-handed or left-handed. We also added the compensator on here. The compensator is one of my own. I really like this compensator. I've had it for a while. It takes quite a bit of recoil out of this, and actually I had this modified so that I could fit it on a rifle, and on a much bigger bore rifle. So it's opened up to 9mm. Usually this would be for like a 5.56 or something like that. So I had it opened up to where it would work on my 308, and it does a great job because I'm running a skeleton stock on my 308, and it has a lot of kick, a lot of recoil to it, and it's, with it being an aluminum chassis for a 308, you feel more of that recoil than if you got a bigger, more comfortable stock. So the compensator on here really takes a lot out. So I took that off of here just to put on here because it's a Hyperfire product, and I just wanted to throw the whole compliment at it. But the big star of the show today is going to be the Hyper Touch trigger. This is one of the better triggers I have seen yet. So it has the dual cam on top, and basically that preloads the hammer, so that when you pull the trigger, it gets spring assisted up to slam fire that firing pin to really give it a lot of extra oomph, so you don't have any light primer strikes. Anybody that's been out on the range shooting any amount of time has had failure to fire, and then they just go through their immediate action. They jerk that round out. They go through the immediate action, they fire the next round, and then later on they pick that round up and they see that there's light primer strike. That's something that a lot of times, you know, if you're in a life and death situation, that's something you don't want to run into. But it could be just as important in a competition. You know, that's the difference between winning and losing, is one failure to fire. So it does that. But the thing is that this thing also, it brings this down to just above a 2-pound trigger. And we're going to throw the calipers on it and stuff like that here in a minute. But when we installed this trigger, with this rifle, came with a mil-spec trigger, and it was breaking around 7.5 pounds on the scale. So what we did after we installed this, it brought it down to about 2.25 pounds. And of course we're going to run on here again for you. It also has the pad on here that is fully adjustable, so you can raise this up and down to wherever your finger is. And the pad helps displace some of it gives you a bigger surface area for you to get your finger on. So when you start to run this gun fast, it's a little bit easier to control. Another thing I like about this also is the fact that it reduces the amount of travel from when you pull the trigger to the brake, and then when you bring it back out to reset, there's less travel. So we'll throw the calipers on that real quick and show you as well. Also, just for today's purposes, I got a Holosun red dot on here just to get out there and ring some steel, and we're just going to show you just how fast this thing can get. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put this thing down here, and we're going to go ahead and put the gauges on it. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and put the trigger pull gauge on this and zero it. 1.10 ounces. This the trigger pad, I had it adjusted down so it kind of popped there. I had it out of the way just to be able to show it earlier, so I'm gonna go ahead and do it again just to get an average. Go ahead and, this thing, there we go, back to 0. 1.12 ounces. Okay, so that's really light. So it's going to make this a really fast gun to shoot. One of the other things we're going to measure here real quick is we're going to look at the trigger pull as well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring this out. I don't have my digital calipers with me. I can't seem to find them, so I'm going to go ahead and measure just how far this trigger moves once it's pulled. Okay, so then I'm going to bring this up. I'll go ahead and mark this right here. This is right at 2 inches. Okay, so then I'm going to go ahead and pull the trigger, take it back. All right, so on this gauge, by doing this method, so what I'm doing is I'm marking on the slide rule where it is at the resting position. Once I pull the trigger, taking it all the way back to the reset, holding it to the reset, and then checking it, and it is at a 1/16 of an inch. Okay, so this trigger at the middle of the trigger only has to move a 1/16 of an inch to go back. So what you're doing is you're cutting down on the economy of motion on this trigger. So you know, if this was a much bigger lever, the amount of distance that you would have to travel to engage the trigger or for the gun to fire would be further. So what they've done is they've increased the geometry on here to make this a shorter trigger pull overall. With the added spring assist on here, makes this a really light trigger without compromising safety, and it gives it very little trigger pull. So when you get to running your gun and shooting fast, you're going to have to travel less to go back and forth just to engage, come back out, let it reset, pull the trigger again. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start putting some rounds through here. I've already thrown the dot on here. I already put a couple rounds through it just to make sure that I'm shooting still at about 50. Not really going to do any long range testing today or anything like that. So now we're just going to go and shoot it fast. All right, so here we are to the fun part of all this shooting, right? So I just got a magazine of 20 here. I'm gonna go ahead and run this through here, just 1 or 2 magazines, just on my own, just to get a feel for the trigger. And then what we'll do is we'll start putting these on the pack timer to see just where we're at as far as how much we can speed up this thing. So going hot. All right, so that was just the first 20 rounds on this Hyperfire trigger. Now the grip, I'm really liking the grip, because I got I don't have small hands, but I don't have big giant hands either. This feels really good in my hand. So when I'm holding on to this, it feels like it gives me just a little bit more control as far as just hold on to the weapon. But this trigger is just feeling phenomenal. Like I said, first 20, and I just wanted to keep going faster. So we're gonna go ahead and start running the timer here. I got a couple magazines in my pocket. Came a little prepared. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and start this, and this one, open on safe. All right, so at the buzzer, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a 20 round mag dump. Oh man. So I think it's gonna take me a minute, because my finger, you know, when I'm shooting, I just don't know how fast I can do this. All right, so I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not a professional speed shooter or anything like that. We come out here, we do gun reviews. I like to shoot fast if I can, but I think I'm gonna have to go home and work on drills with like some way with strings or something to where I can just try and do this as fast as I can. And you think about trying to move your finger as fast as you can, and it might be a little difficult. So I'm gonna go ahead and dump another mag real quick. So that one was 4.7 seconds. 4.7 seconds for a 20 round mag dump, and it was all hits. Okay, so the compensator is really doing its job. Well, it looks like it's coming loose here. Well, I didn't tighten it down enough. Okay, so I'm gonna go back and put a wrench on this real quick. But compensator was working really good, taking a lot of that out of there. But the trigger on this so far is just extremely impressive. Let me go ahead and take care of this real quick and I'll be right back. Could use a little, okay. All right, so what we want to demonstrate real quick is we've seen that this thing has a really light trigger pull, and some people are going to be like, hey, you're going to be questioning, is this on the ragged edge of safety? And nobody wants to be unsafe with a deadly weapon. So one of the things we're going to demonstrate here real quick is that with the spring assist on here that gives us the ability to shoot such a light trigger pull, it still doesn't make it unsafe to where it'll slam fire. So the gun is unloaded right now. What I'm going to do is put it on put it on fire, and I'm going to drop this on the table a couple times just to show that it's not going to engage the trigger. All right, now when I pull the trigger, you'll hear it go. Okay, so I slam this down pretty hard enough that it's knocking the bolt back into the receiver, into the buffer tube and everything. So if you have this thing on fire and you're in the middle of a stage and it has this light trigger, but then this thing falls and hits the ground, you're just not gonna be in any danger of hitting an RO or yourself or something in the middle of shooting a stage. So I just wanted to demonstrate that real quick just to show the safety aspect of it. So we're gonna go ahead and go down and start shooting. All right, so we went back up and I've tightened this down. So I have shims on here, spacer shims. So this isn't like a crush washer where you just crank it around till it gets to where you want. I threw shims on here. I did this when it was cold, and then of course, as this thing heated up a little bit, I'm putting put a little bit of more of a turn on it. So I don't have all the shims out here with me at the range, or else I would take this off, add a couple shims, and then tighten it back down. So this is going to be off camber just a little bit, which is not a big deal, because what we're really wanting to do is we're wanting to, it's still going to mitigate recoil to allow me to shoot faster. But the big thing I want to see today is I want to see this trigger. And I don't have my trusty assistant, Big Jim Warren, out here today. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll just, like I said, I'm running the timer. I'll put it on a delay, hit the button, drop it, and then when the timer goes off, I'll shoot my round. I'll shoot my 20 round magazine. So last one we shot was 4.7 seconds. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do another one here, another 20 round mag dump. All right, 20 round mag dump. All right, 4.7, same thing. One of the things I want to show is that when you're shooting, we always preach that you learn the fundamentals. So you crawl, walk, run. Okay, so it took me a couple times to get that right. But you should learn the fundamentals first, proper trigger control, all these other things, before you start going to things that are going to try and make you faster, because we're always looking for the tricks that make you faster. But one of the things I'm finding out is this actually just speeds you up. It's just making me a lot faster than normal, than what I'm normally running. One, in the distance that I have to pull the trigger. Two, in the super fast reset because of the spring assist. And then three, it's just super light. So I mean, it's almost feels like if anybody's ever done like paintball games where they have electronic triggers and things like that. So this thing is just really quick. I'm actually having trouble. I'm trying to tell myself, pull faster, 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 and I'm just trying to get my finger to move faster. So when you hear those hiccups in there, it's not anything with the gun. What it is just me trying to tell with my brain send that signal to my finger to go faster. Okay, so we'll go ahead and run another one here. see if I can get past that. You know, that's something that takes a long time, and like your professional shooters, they just spend thousands and thousands of rounds just sitting out and just doing this, drills and drills and drills. So unfortunately, I don't have that many rounds to be able to expend. So all right, so 20 round mag dump, 4.2 seconds. Okay, so that's pretty fast, and I don't know if the cameras are really picking up on this. I mean, it's just a solid stream of rounds coming out, and every one of these, in conjunction with the good grip, the trigger, and the compensator, is keeping this round on target. So as I'm shooting, and one of the things I can't really show you guys as I'm looking through the gun is that this is not jumping. You know, I'm not, this thing isn't like all around or anything. It's pretty much staying right on target, right where we're at. Now I'm in close and we're shooting about an 8-inch piece of steel. So I mean, this is not by any means any kind of a hard shot for a 9mm carbine. But we're not going for hard shots right now. We're going for speed. And I'm just trying to pull the trigger as fast as we can. So this thing is doing phenomenal. We're gonna go back and load more magazines, and we're gonna keep on shooting. All right, so what we're gonna do, we've already done a couple mag dumps. We're getting down into the 4-second range. We're already in the 4-second range, but I think if I kept going, I'd be right around 4 seconds, maybe even getting into the 3s on a full mag dump. So what we're gonna do now is we're just gonna show the transitioning going across targets. So I'm gonna shoot the 5 hanging targets there and just go across just to get a feel for the trigger, how quick you can get back on, and how easy it is to transition. Going hot. Man, that felt good. I expected a lot more jump. So I'll go ahead and run on timer real quick. Going hot. All right, 353, but the thing is I'm expecting more recoil. I'm expecting it to jump higher, so I'm kind of leaning into it, and of course I'm hitting right below it. I'm gonna go ahead and fix this target real quick. All right, going again. All right, 260. One more time. Ah, out of bullets. Yeah, I don't have any more mags on me. So felt like it was gonna be a good run. So I'm really liking this thing. Again, this is bringing this down to 1.5 pounds, something like that, trigger. It's safe, and it's gonna be a great addition to anybody's competition rifle. We hope this was useful, and we'll see you next time on Gun Stuff.